With the engine swung out, I can begin cleaning up the frame. I'm going to begin today by doing a bit more gardening. There's a bit of dirt to turn over here, just literally caked on in there. The motor's been sitting on here and sitting on here. A bit was washed away at the front when I could get the pressure hose in there. That's a floor bash plate bolt that I've given a bit of a wire brush to before trying to remove it. And there's one there that I haven't brushed yet. So I'll give them all a brush like that first one before I try to remove it. That's the one at the rear. This is the one closest to me here. That one there I've given a brush to. And there's a couple up the front there that I'll brush before I try removing them, because it's often the rust that's left on the inside that's got to go down through the thread as you unwind it, that often binds up and causes the bolt to shear off. I'll give them a brush and I'll lubricate them, and hopefully I'll get 7 out of 7 removed without buggering them up. Well, the score is 6 out of 7. This one in the middle at the back sheared off. One's down the side there, and there were good. And the ones up the front there, both good. So that wasn't too bad a result. I was probably getting a bit cocky. I was doing this one last and probably should have taken it a little bit easier. I reckon I would have got them all. So the serial number plate is on this rear tube just here. I haven't tried to clean up that plate yet and work out what year this bike is, but I'm going to do it now. I'm going to give that plate a bit of a spray of oil. I'll wipe. A lot of these are rusted so that you can't see anything on them. Try and get some light on there and take a photo. Okay, here we go. It's JSAAJ47A. Now I think that's a T. No. I think the serial number will actually start with the 2104457. So it's the letter before the 2, which is the date character. The 10th letter is J, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's whatever this character here is. It could be a T, because a T fits the series. A T means it's a 1996 model in the climber manual. I've got all the rear off this bike. I've just got to get the front off. I'm just trying to get back to a bare main frame. Front suspension, trying to release it without dismantling it too much. Top shock absorber mount, the top wishbone mounts, the lower wishbone mounts, releases most of the front hub. I need to release that tie rod end here, which has got a cotter pin through it, and then that whole corner will come off. There's one piece. I'll do that to both sides, and that just leaves us with a steering column. I've also got to release brake line. Rather than try and release this ball joint, which needs a thin spanner in on to find the flat under there, which is a bit difficult to see and do at the moment, I'm going to release these two 14mm bolts and this little 10mm bolt that just holds the brake bracket on there, and remove that whole piece. and worry about getting the ball joint loose at a later time. Well, that's the front corners taken off. Still got these pieces attached to the tie rods, the bottom of the steering column. The brake lines are released from the clips up here. Still got the master cylinder there coming down. I think I'll release it at this bolt here. Take that little bracket off as a separate piece. Then attack the steering column. There's a big nut on underneath this bracket. A couple of bolts up here. I think everything is got cotter pins through it, because brake and steering components have all got that second level of locking. Help if any bolts rattle loose, you've still got steering and brakes. I've turned the whole caboose upside down. One of the reasons I've done that is to get this nut on the end of the steering column, and also there's a cotter pin through there, and there's cotter pins through bolts holding the tie rod ends, which will be easier to remove while it's upside down like this. There's also cotter pins through the back of the bolts that come through the headstock there and here, which will also be able to be easier to get to while it's upside down like this. Removing cotter pins is the next step. These ball joints have flats on the inside there that a 12mm spanner will fit. With that held like that, the 14mm rattle gun on this side will rattle that nut off in no time. Here we go. Hold the spanner. Yeah, simple. Knowing that there's 12mm flats on there, and that they are in fact 12mm, you don't have to go hunting through your spanner set before you find one that fits. So I've got the nut off the bottom of the steering column, and there's a few pieces associated with that there. I've got the tie rod ends released from here. That's about all I can get to. I've got the cotter pins released from the ends of these two bolts so that they'll screw out from the front now. We're getting close to a bare frame. I'm going to flip it back over. The remaining bits will come off the top. That's the steering column removed. This little bracket here that holds the starter relay and the neutral relay needs to come off. Just a couple of screws in the top there. I've still got these two sheared off bolts in the bottom of the battery box, and I've still got a sheared off bolt right down the back in the middle where the floor pan didn't come away. Otherwise, there's a couple of bolts there that I should have just left in the fuel pump rather than in the bracket. I think I've pretty much got a bare frame now. Time to clean it up. I cleared that hole. I got the bolt out of this hole, but you see it's elongated. That's probably where the drill I put down through it has damaged it. But an M6 screw screws in there quite firmly, so I'm in two minds as to whether I'll bother fixing that hole. I cleared that hole okay, no problems. And this bolt here, which was one of the first ones I came across that was stuck here, this is a bolt that holds the rack on, and the first bolt that I came across that was sheared off. You can see the rust on the shank of that bolt that had it jammed in there firmly. It's now moving because the rust has dissipated, but that needed heat on here, and a good punch to knock that free. The hole's good, the bolt's fucked. I don't know whether I showed these cleaned up a bit yesterday. Just some of the dirt knocked off them. They're in perfect shape. The rubbers are still attached. I've never really seen a complete set of rubbers like this one's got. Rubber, rubber, rubber block there, rubber block there, rubber block, and a strip down the middle there. I've never really seen that, and as I said, perfect shape. So I run the evil eye over this bike. Doesn't appear to have any structural damage at all. Got a little bit of surface rust in areas that I will treat with some phosphoric acid. Then I'll give it a bit of a spray paint from the rattle can. Bit of black gelb or something they call it. A lot of powder coat even on the floor tubes. Surface rust is most prominent around the lower front steering area. All pretty good. I need to neutralise the rust and get some paint on this now. So get out to your shed and have some fun.